Welcome to Math with Mrs. Cox. We are on Chapter 9. Yes, we finally made it to Chapter 9. Lesson 1, page 613 in your math books. We are rounding fractions. Now, you need to understand that fractions are parts of a whole. So, for example, there's 1 out of 10 that are here. This fraction is going to round closer to 0. Because there's not very much in there. Now, if you look at this one, 6/10, well, that's a little more than 0, but not quite a whole, so it's pretty close to half. And 9/10, they only have one little square that's blank, but that's not a complete whole number, but it's pretty close, so we're going to round that to a whole. So you're going to be rounding down to a 0, or rounding to a half, or rounding up to a whole number. That is what this whole lesson is about. Let's begin. They're called benchmark fractions, where you use 0, a half, or 1 whole number. A poison dart a poison dart frog is 2 inches long. This is equal to 2/12 of a foot. Is 2/12 closest to 0, a half, or 1? Mark off 12 equal increments from 0 to 1, which is what they've done for us already. Then we're going to graph 2/12 on the number line. You know, 1/2 of 6/12. So here we are. We're going to go 1. Oh, that's 0, 1, 2. So do a little dot right there, and you're going to say 2/12 is right there. Which number, 0, a half, or 1, is this dot closest to? There's 0, there's a half, and a 1. It is closest to 0. You're right. If you look over here, it's just 2 dashes away, and over here, it's at least 1, 2, 3, 4 dashes away. So the length of the poison dart frog, I can't say that word, poison dart frog, is closest to 0 feet. Benchmark fractions and rounding. Example 2. We're going to round 4/9 to 0, a half, or 1. Then we're going to look, the number 4.5 is half of 9. The numerator, 4 and 9, is 4. They're asking for the numerator. Numerator is the top number, which is very close to about 4.5. So 4 and 9, 4 over 9 on the number line goes to about right there. So what they're looking at is you have 4/9. That is almost a half. If it was 4.5 over 9, then it would definitely be straight up half. But 4/9 is almost a half. That's why the dot goes right here. So we're graphing 4 out of 9 on the number line. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we're going to put the dot right on the 4. So looking at that, is it closer to 0, a half, or 1? That's right. It rounds to a half is what it's closest to. Graph each fraction on the number line. Then state whether the fraction is closest to a 0, a half, or a 1. 5/6. Let's see if they have 6 dashes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, there's 6 dashes. We're supposed to put a mark on the 5. So 5 out of 6 would put us right there. Is it closer to a half or closer to a whole number? It's about 1. Okay, now 5/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 5/8 is going to be located just past the half, and that's going to be 5/8. So let's look at this. It's too far away from the 1, too far away from the 0, and it's perfectly close So it's about close to half is going to be our benchmark fraction. Okay, that's what we're going to be doing through the whole rest of these. Now, some of these you can look at and say, well, gosh, 1 out of an 8, that's just going to look like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's going to just look like right there. So it's definitely going to be close to a 0. Okay, now 5 out of 9, you can kind of look at the numerator. Is that about halfway to 9? It's a little bit over. You can draw a number line if you want to make sure. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is going to be 1. And right there is going to be our half. And it'll be right about there. So I would say it's about half. Couple different strategies you can use. So look at the numerator on number 5. Is it more than half? It's almost a whole number, isn't it? So it's definitely going to be closer to 1. If you need me to prove it on a number line, I will show it to you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 7 eighths is right here. We have 1, a half, and 0. And it's definitely going to be closer to 1. Okay, 3 sevenths. Again, you can kind of look at that and say 7 divided completely in half would be about 3.5, and that's really close to 3.5. So I would say 3 sevenths is about half, but if you love to see a number line, here's what it looks like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this will be the 1. This is about the half mark. 1, 2, 3, 3 is about right there. It's closer to a half than it is to 0 or 1, so a half was our good answer. Number 7, let's look at this numerator. 5, is 5 closer to 0, a half, or 1? Well, 5 is almost half of 11, so I'm going to say almost close to half. Number line, we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, dot right there, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This will be our 1 mark, and a half would be about right there. So yes, it is closer to a half on the number line. Number 8, ooh, 4 out of 5. That is definitely not going to be anywhere near 0 and not too close to a half, so it's going to be closer to a 1. And to prove it, we can put a number line where there's 0, and we go 1, 2, 3, 4, put our dot, and 5. Half would be about right there, so it is definitely closer to the 1. Number 9, only 1 out of 9, so here's our 0, and here's 1, there's our dot, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, there's our 1, half is about right there. You can see that the dot is definitely closer to 0. So 1/9 would go to the benchmark fraction of 0. Okay, number 10, we have 6 out of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's one whole number. There's 0. Half is about right there. Yep, you've guessed it. 6 sevenths is closer to 1. Okay, 2 out of 5. We have a 0 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have a whole number right there. And a half, 2 is right here. A half is about right there. So which one is it closer to? Yep, you're right. It's closer to a half. Okay, look at the numerator on this one. 3. 4, if I were to be a ninja and chop it in half, would be, so I gave you the answer. 8 chopped in half would be 4. And 3 is really close to 4. So I would say 3/8 is about 1/2. And we can do a number line to prove it. 1, 2, 3, dot, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1/2. It is closer to half. Number 13, we have 1/5. Is it closer to 0, a half, or 1? Let's do a number line and see. We have 1, there's our dot, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's our number 1.5 would be about right there. So definitely is closer to 0. Ooh, 15 sixteenths. Well, 15 is nearly close to 16, so I'm going to say this number is really close to 1. Number line just to prove it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 1.5 would be about right there. Yes, 15 sixteenths is definitely closer to 1. This is a great chapter, isn't it, guys? Number 15, be precise. Round the length of ribbon to a 0, a half, or a 1. Okay, so when you're reading a tape measurer, this right here is going to be a 1/2 inch. They did not put the measurement in there, so feel free to put the measurement in there. Now that helps us understand what it's closer to, doesn't it? It is definitely closer to 1/2 of an inch. Number 16, Corey has finished 3/5 of her daily chores. She finished about half of her chores or almost all of them? So they want you to answer like this, about half or almost all of them. So if you look at the little number line here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And she's done 3/5 of her chores. This would be the whole number. And right here is about a half. So yes, I would say she's finished about half. Brain builder. Peter has read about, there's about 12/15 of his book. Ling has read about 7/15 of her book. Has each student read about half of their book or almost all of their book? They want us to answer that. Okay, so let's compare. Let's look at Peter. So Peter is 12/15. 15 is really close to 16, and I know half of 16 is 8. 12 is definitely more than 8. So I would say Peter has read almost all, but we'll do a number line just to prove it. All right, so here's our number line. There's a 0. There's our number line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. There's 1, half is about right there. So yes, that little dot is almost all the way to 1. Okay, now semicolon, so now we have to talk about Ling. So looking at 7, I know that 15 is close to 16, and half of 16 is 8, and 7 is really close to 8. So I would say 7/15 of the book is almost half, but we will do a number line just to prove it. Here's our 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's see, our halfway mark will be about right there. 7 is going to be right there. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. There's our whole number. So you can see that Ling, her little dot, is closer to almost half. Okay, number 18. Which one does not belong? Circle the fraction that does not belong with the other 3. Explain your reasoning. Write a new fraction that would belong with the other 3. Okay, so I'm looking at these fractions, and 8 right here is a little more than half of this, and 7 is a little more than half of 13, and 6 is a little more than half of 12. So they're all halfies. But this one doesn't belong because that one is closer to 0. So I would say it's the only fraction that you would round to 0. The other fractions round closer to a half. And my sample answer I would put would be 6/11, because that's about half, and that would belong with the rest of the group. Number 19. Describe 2 different ways of rounding fractions. You can use a number line to round fractions. You can also use mental math by, helps if I fix that, by comparing the numerator and the denominator. There we go.